All
This
right.
is Knut for IoT Analytics, and we are doing a short wrap-up video of the APAC Vodafone Summit in Singapore. And with us is Raquel, our new analyst based in Singapore, and she's going to report on what she learned in terms of connectivity from an operator point of view. Raquel, take it away.
All right. Hi, Knut and Yunhanyo. I'm Raquel Artes, and I just attended the Vodafone Asia-Pac Analyst Summit in Singapore. And just to give you some highlights, I'll focus my discussion on smart cities. So according to Vodafone, Alibaba signs smart city initiatives in Macau, and they mentioned that the projects will focus on traffic management, environment monitoring, healthcare, and tourism. They also mentioned that they are engaged on smart energy projects, specifically smart meters, and deployment will be in Australia and New Zealand, utilizing NB-IoT technology. They also shared that in India, Vodafone is also involved on smart meter projects, but still in the trial stage. But they mentioned that the connectivity technologies will be 2G. I asked whether the likelihood to migrate to NB-IoT is, they mentioned that it will not likely happen in the next 5 years, basically because the network is not yet commercially available to support NB-IoT technologies. And what's also interesting in this event, they mentioned that aside from smart cities, they mentioned that they have high interest in the retail sector, specifically in, they mentioned about reverse logistics. And they have deployed this technologies, this project in Spain and Paris, and they mentioned that it's also gaining traction in India.
Very good. By the way, also Eugenio is on the line, and we haven't introduced him yet, but he's our sort of connectivity expert in Europe, and I'm sure he has a couple of questions as well.
Yeah, hi, live from Hamburg. Yeah. Do you want me to go ahead with the questions?
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, I think that's right. I think there are some very interesting developments. And perhaps one thing is also always good to put it into perspective, specifically Vodafone. I think, Eugenio, you've done some research in terms of around the world, the kind of rollouts they have, not only Asia-Pac.
Yeah, absolutely. So, talking about, Raquel mentioned NB-IoT. NB-IoT is one of the, most spoken kind of connectivity technologies at the moment. It's one of these low-power wide area networks. And the peculiarity of NB-IoT is that it can be installed on existing LTE networks, but also reuse the same spectrum as 2G when there is coexistence of LTE and 2G networks in the same station. So Vodafone has been actually pretty active with NB-IoT within Europe. They have been doing some rollouts last year in countries like Spain, Ireland, the Netherlands, and doing some other works in many other countries in Europe. And I've also recently read about their intention of extending NB-IoT coverage also to a country like New Zealand. So I was curious to hear about their developments also in the Asia Pacific region. So it was interesting to hear about this thing in Macau, and also this let's say delay in installing NB-IoT coverage also in India. So, do you, Raquel? Do you also have have you heard any other information about their NB-IoT strategy in more in general in the APAC region?
So far, the discussion is more towards the smart energy, like as I mentioned earlier, smart meter. They will be utilizing NB-IoT in Australia and New Zealand. But so far, that's all the information that I have for NB-IoT.
Okay, interesting. Well, it's Interesting you mentioned smart meters. I mean, it's one of the biggest applications, you know, for NB-IoT. And from what I've heard, like in China, but this is not Vodafone, you know, it's like one of the main, you know, use cases for this technology. As we all know, China is one of the biggest contributors to the advancement in NB-IoT. They're also backed up by their government, and they are pushing a lot on development of this technology, also thanks, you know, to the support of big companies like Huawei or ZTE. So yeah, interesting.
I quite like that. So it's an agreement with Alibaba, I guess. And I mean, we've talked about Alibaba a few times. Alibaba is kind of like the Chinese Amazon, if you want, from a point of view, with the big sort of the cloud and also the e-commerce business. And I think, Raquel, if I'm not mistaken, that China has previously had one or two smart cities that were specifically made smart cities, right? Like I think Weifang, I think, is one of those cities that they try to make very smart. But by the sounds of it, they're now expanding to other cities like Macau. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. So for Macau, they mentioned earlier that for smart city projects, they will be focusing more on smart traffic management, healthcare, environment monitoring, as well as healthcare and also tourism. So for tourism, they are promoting mobile payments. You can use digital payment for purchases at the airport, tourist areas as well as commercial district.
Okay, very nice. Very good. So just curious, is there anything you heard about 5G? I mean, 5G is sort of the next big thing in connectivity, and a lot of people have talked about it before. We believe that it's still a few years before we will see it, but I'm just curious how an operator like Vodafone thinks about it.
They mentioned about the 5G use cases based mostly more on autonomous vehicles because it requires low latency. But they also mentioned about chatbots. For instance, it's already operational in 7 markets. For instance, like India, UK, Germany, and Spain. And they also mentioned that it can support English and German language. And Vodafone mentioned that they are also looking to introduce Mandarin and Spanish to support these languages.
Okay, good. And then perhaps one question I would have to you on smart cities. By the sounds of it, you say that traffic management is one of the biggest sort of things, if I get you right. Do you have any more examples what they do specifically with traffics in the cities? Did they provide anything like that?
They mentioned currently they cannot disclose further because of the NDA, but they mentioned still in developing stage. So, but they mentioned that these will be the focus smart city projects in Macau.
Okay, cool. Eugenio, Raquel, anything else that we should let our audience know? Anything else interesting that came up, or Eugenio, any questions you may have?
No, no other questions from me. I think, you know, NB-IoT in general, LPWA, you know, she discussed everything, you know, that you know, probably they discussed in the conference. So yeah, I'm good.
So Raquel, is there anything else that we should be talking about? Anything else we should know?
Yes, they also mentioned about the Bangkok One project in Thailand. It is also a smart city project, and this is in partnership with Hitachi. And they also mentioned that the focus area will be traffic management, water management, and waste management.
Okay.
In Thailand.
Any more details what that means, and like at the end of the day, what do they specifically do in traffic or in water or in waste?
Water management is more on like deploying smart meters. Waste management are like maybe like smart bins technologies. But so far, because the details is still quite limited, but I will write an insight about this. So if I will provide a more deep dive discussion and I hope the insight will be helpful to our clients and prospective clients.
Very good. Great stuff, Raquel. Let's keep it there.
All right.
We'll have another live sessions at some of the next conferences around the world, as we always do. And if you as the viewer have any questions, send us an email. Let us know. Tell us what we should be talking about. Tell us what you like, what you don't like. In the meantime, you can read the other stuff on our website. Thanks very much, guys, and speak to you soon.
All right. Thank you. Have a nice day. Cheers.